Ladies and gentlemen, this RedGamingTech.com video, we're going to be taking a look at the Steam sales. Yes, it's finally time. It's the 20th of December, and there are a bucket load up. It's fairly interesting, actually. It's got a little bit of a new layout. Now, we're going to kick things off with Mirror's Edge. This was an interesting title upon release. It also supports NVIDIA physics, and it has a few oddities, and mostly the fact it's first person, which can make jumping and so on a little bit odd, but it does feel really nice to play, and it's also a pretty game as well. It looks really good in terms of aesthetics, and it has a very interesting story. It didn't sell as well as what some people thought it would. Nevertheless, it's available, for 75% off. That brings it to £3.24. It's a pretty good deal. It's a few years old now, released in January 2009, so it's a bit old. Not the best price ever, but I think it's well worth picking up. It's going to be one of those titles, however, you love it or hate it. Personally, I couldn't really get into the first person running and jumping part of it, but it does feel really nice, and the music and the city and everything else is really good. And I definitely recommend you check it out for the price. Next one, Hitman, the franchise, is 50-75% off. You can pick the entire selection up, I believe, for... Okay, that's a bit odd. You can pick up the Hitman collection with which includes the original Silent Hitman, Codename 47, and Silent Assassin. So in other words, Hitman 2 for £3.74, 75% off, and you can pick up various deals, although for the odd price of 51% off on Hitman Absolution, which will give you various unlockables. And you can also pick up the original Hitman Absolution for $14.99, or if you choose, you can pick up the Professional Edition, which comes across with a few other bits and pieces. That's $19.99. Hitman Absolution is, in my opinion, one of the better titles released in this year. It's really good, and I'd encourage you to pick it up. There are videos on RGT on it, so definitely worth considering. You've also got the Borderlands franchise. You can pick up Borderlands 2 for a pretty good price, actually. It's available for 50% off, exactly the same price as Hitman 2 for $14.99. It's a really good deal. You can also pick up a 4-pack of the game if you've got 3 other friends to play with, which is perfect for Christmas, by the way. That's 50% off also, which brings it to $44.99. You can also pick up the original Borderlands Game of the Year edition for $4.99, and you can also pick up 4 packs and other bits and pieces. I'd actually highly recommend you check out the RGT video. This is a very interesting first-person RPG kind of shooting title. I think many of you know what it is about. It's got a sense of humour, and it's a very good game, actually. Highly recommend you check out some videos. There's also Spoonie Kipper, I believe, put out a video on one of the pieces of DLC. So we also have Scribblenauts Unlimited. This game is not available quite yet, so it's basically you're getting money off of a pre-order, which I think is the first time this has actually happened on Steam. This is kind of a puzzle strategy adventure game. I haven't played the original Scribblenauts, but I've heard good things about it. It could be worth picking up. Bear in mind you're buying into the future, so it's not going to be something you're able to play now. It's going to be the 15th of February of next year, so can't really say too much about the unlimited version. You've also got the war game European Escalation. This has actually been on Steam sales a couple of times. It's ye old regular. I don't know much about it. It scores fairly well on Metacritic, and some other places, but I haven't played it myself. Nevertheless, it's available 75% off, or £7.49, and you also get some DLC with that as well. So it could be worth it. I would highly recommend you do some checking on that one, though, because I'm not that familiar with the game. You can also pick up a Prince of Persia franchise. There was a bit of an error with this when it first went up, which meant that the entire collection was like 30 odd pounds, and the individual titles really cheap. Nevertheless, you can indeed pick up all of the titles for £10.74, all the individual ones, which range from £1.74 all the way up to £3.24, depending on how old the title is. Prince of Persia is, of course, a remake of the really old games and kind of a continuation with those series. It honestly has a really good combat and very nice graphics and so on. The PC versions are pretty solid from what I've played, and I'd recommend you check them out. For people who like action, adventure, and puzzles, those type of games, it could well be worth it. I'm yet to complete the darn things, despite owning pretty much all of them from previous sales, but there you have it. I think that's about all of the main deals. Yeah, that's all today's. We've also got a few flash deals. Flash deals, as you guys know, last for a certain amount of time, and then basically they bugger off. They're a lot shorter deals, and they're going to reset for me in about 9 hours and 45 minutes. There's a couple of the deals that I'd recommend. Batman Arkham City Game of the Year edition. This was available as well in autumn. I think the winter sale as well. It's £5, 75% off. You can also pick up the DLCs if you own the original Batman. You just want to pick up the DLCs. I'd recommend you pick up Harlequin DLC, and if you haven't owned, you don't own the game, I'd recommend you do so. It also has some sterling work from the video physics as well. You guys can check out some videos of it on my channel on Red Gaming Tech. So if you're unsure of it, another one that's kind of an odd one, and that's Fable. You can pick up Fable 3 for 50% off. Fable is it's a strange one, is basically what it comes down to. It's $14.99, so it's not the biggest sale ever. In fact, it's pretty darn expensive considering it's about a year and a half old, give or take. And you can pick up the Lost Chapters. Now, Fable 2 is not available for the PC. It's basically what happens. So you've got Fable 1 and Fable 2. As it turns out, in my opinion, Fable 1 is a really good game. Fable 3 I got bored with pretty darn quickly. Fable 1 has some issues. It's not as good as what basically it was made out to be initially. They basically couldn't cram everything they wanted into it, and that's understandable because the original title was going to be quite expansive. That's not to say that they're bad. However, anyway, moving on to Fable 3. Haven't really gotten that far into it. I kind of got bored quite early in. It's not a bad game or anything, but it's a love it or hate it title. It's not the cheapest I've seen it. It's $14.99. You can, however, pick up the DLCs for quite cheap as well. It scores averagely on most websites. I think many of you know what Fable's about. And I don't really think it requires me to actually tell you too much about it. So, yeah. Anyway, what other stuff have we got to look at? You've also got Operation Flashpoint Red River. I probably wouldn't recommend this title, honestly. It doesn't score particularly well. And although it's not awful, it probably isn't worth picking up. There are better titles available, is basically what happens. And yeah. So, probably recommend to just kind of leave it alone. It's not really super worth picking up. So, yeah. War of the Roses was also available. Haven't really tried this one out. It scores well, I think, or at least reasonably, from various websites. But 50% off at the moment, $12.49. It, as I said, scores okay. I don't really know that well. There are 64 player competitions and team deathmatch and blah blah blah, but I'd recommend you check it out more if you're so interested. It didn't really appeal to me just from looking at it. I've kind of lost interest a lot, to be honest, with medieval siege type of medieval type of games for the most part, at least like this. It's not bad or anything like that. It just didn't really kind of grab my attention massively. You've also got Natural Selection, which scores actually fairly well. It's 60% off at the moment, which is a pretty good price, and It's an interesting title. It's Natural Selection 2, I'm sorry, not Natural Selection 1. And it's a fairly recent release. And with this version, you also get the Digital Deluxe Edition. Also includes 1 hour of tribal industrial music and digital art book, blah, blah, blah. That's if you want to pick up the Deluxe Edition, which is 60% off as well. As I said, it scores fairly well. It's not one I've actually personally played, but it's an action strategy type of game. And I would recommend checking out if you're a fan of the genre. It's certainly very aesthetically nice, to say the least. It just, once again, it was one of those titles that just didn't kind of go the last mile for me. I don't really know why. It just, just didn't really push me to purchase it. What other titles have we got? Intrusion 2 is another title, once again, I haven't played. It's unusual. There's a bucket load of them this time I haven't played. Once again, it scores fairly well and also fully supports the big picture, which is, of course, Steam's console challenging attempt. It scores fairly well and is basically action indie platform. It looks very cool, actually, and for fans of those type of genres from back in the day of the 16-bit era, will definitely be pleased, I think, with this one. Personally, I haven't checked it out, but I'd recommend you do so. There's also some really good deals on the publisher packs, but I'm not going to go through those today because there's quite a lot of them, and depending on what the rest of the deals hold, you never know what will be available, so it might render the packs kind of bad, bad purchases. Anyway, this has just been a quick video. Hopefully you guys have found it somewhat helpful. I will see you around soon. Bye for now.